Hello everyone and welcome to the King Angel Show. Remember to like this video, comment on what you think about it, share it out to your loved ones, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a Patreon member for exclusive content, and you can also join the Discord community for the King Angel Show. All links in the description box below. Thank you very much. I appreciate your continued support. Enjoy. Alright, so move on to video number 2. It's another short video about the history of Halloween, but we'll see it from another perspective. Thank you so much for being here.
Halloween is one of America's most popular holidays. However, it's not all fancy dress and candy. For the countries who observe this autumnal celebration, Halloween represents a time of superstition and the paranormal, as the nights grow darker and winter closes in. Increasingly, it seems that this ghostly holiday is also a time for sugar-coated abundance, with 1/4 of America's annual confectionery sales occurring around Halloween. However, it has not always been this way. So where did this peculiar festival originate? Although the word Halloween is a contraction of the Christian observance of All Hallows' Eve, hallowed meaning holy, it is widely believed that many of the traditions associated with Halloween can be traced back to ancient festivals. In particular, it is the 2,000-year-old pre-Christian Celtic festival of Samhain. The night of the 31st of October, Samhain, marked the start of the Celtic year. It was the end of summer and the harvest season, and the beginning of darkness and the cold. Indeed, the word Samhain comes from the Old Irish for summer's end. Historically, it was widely observed throughout Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. An important part of the celebrations was the lighting of special bonfires. As Samhain was regarded as a time of year when the boundary between this world and the other world was at its thinnest, the bonfires were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers. Due to the proximity of the other world, the Celts believed that the souls of dead family members revisited their homes on Samhain. As such, lavish hospitality was provided. Places at feast tables were set for them, and offerings of food were left. Nuts and apples were popular. The prevalence of these foodstuffs can still be seen today in the same traditions of apple bobbing and the roasting of nuts.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. They didn't mention that in the previous video, but there you go. I had not put 2 and 2 together with the apple bobbing part, but there we go. And she explains a lot better what was actually left outside of the door. So it's like fruits, nuts. That sounds pretty delicious, let me tell you. As opposed to like what we're putting out to kids these days. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess it's like a day you get like candy like that, but fruits and nuts, that doesn't sound like a mixed a fruit nut bag. It's not a bad idea. I don't think kids would appreciate that now, but at least we know that sometime in history that was what was given to them. But what's interesting is how all of these traditions that have been established back then, like the previous video that we just saw, he said that some of the traditions have had, had been around for like 2,000 years up until this point now. Mind you, they've changed, obviously. This is a perfect example of what we're talking about right now, but just the fact that this is something that has been going on for so long is pretty mind-blowing if you really think about it, especially with the time, like about 2,000 years. That's a really long time. there have been civilizations that have come and gone in that point of time. So yeah, that's how long of a stretch that point of time is. So I think it's so interesting, and whether some people like to admit it or not, I mean, yeah, this is definitely a pagan tradition. It's not it's not akin to any like religion. It's seems like it's just, like I said, just purely pagan. So yeah, let's move on. This is so interesting. Shout out to the creator of the previous video, and shout out to the creator of this video as well. After diving into the content creation world, creating these videos and, you know, putting all the love and dedication that is required to make a video, but you know, it's a 10 minute long video. It takes a whole lot of information to be able to fill 10 minutes, even if that time doesn't seem like much. So again, shout out to these content creators. It's like the videos that we react to. It's not the hardest work, but it does require skill and time, and that in and of itself is pretty admirable. So shout out to you guys for taking the time to create these awesome videos. Moving on.
A mystical race comparable to fairies or elves, known as the Ishi, were also thought to walk more actively than usual amongst the living on Samhain. This meant that guising, namely the tradition of dressing up in costume, was practiced because of its effectiveness at disguising oneself from the occasionally fearsome Ishi. It has been suggested that, in order to conceal one's identity, ashes taken from the sacred bonfire may have been used to blacken participants' faces. As well as serving a protective purpose, bonfires were also used to burn offerings of crops and cattle. Samhain was also an important time of year for the practice of divination. The presence of otherworldly entities such as the Ishi were thought to make it easier to predict the future. At a time of looming darkness and cold, a favourable prophecy would provide unrivaled comfort for a superstitious culture. By the time the Romans left the British Isles in the 5th century AD, the traditions of Samhain had evolved. Most notable are the Roman festivals of Parentalia and Pomona. Both would have a lasting impact on the legacy of modern-day Halloween. The former, Parentalia, was a 9-day religious holiday held in honour of family ancestors. Although celebrated in mid-February, Parentalia observed the ties between the living and the dead in a similar manner to Samhain. In particular, it is the last day of the festival which historians cite as the most important in the history of Halloween. The midnight rites which were performed in commemoration of the dead were believed to exorcise and cleanse. According to Ovid, Roman citizens were instructed to bring offerings to the tombs of their dead, which consisted of at least an arrangement of wreaths, a sprinkling of grain and a bit of salt, bread soaked in wine, and violets scattered about.
You know, it's weird that how there's like, okay, so at one point in history, they were doing all of these, you know, like she just said, like offerings and, you know, give, I guess, some acknowledgement, thanks, you know, and remembrance to their dead. And, you know, a lot of people participated in it. Like, obviously, she just explained, you know, it was a ritual that was done, you know, in towns and things. But, you know, we fast forward time, and we arrived to a period where if women would do that, they were deemed witches. So yeah, it's think about it. It's mind blowing there. Like at one point in time, like it was done in towns and stuff. You were doing rituals and all of these. It was a tradition, and you did it for, like I said before, all the reasons that I said. But at another point in time, you were burned at the stake for it. Huh. And it's all, if you think about it, rooted in this in superstition. So you would think that if it's rooted in superstition, it would kind of follow that same line. But again, like 2 periods of time, with a huge gap in between it, and you find 2 different mindsets in regards to it. Obvious reasons I'm not gonna get into. You can definitely Google it, but yeah, it's just again. Interesting fact there, if you think about it. All right, moving on.
The second of the festivals honoured the Roman goddess of fruitful abundance, Pomona. It is her association with orchard fruit which may help to explain the continued importance of apples, in particular apple bobbing and toffee apples, in modern Halloween celebrations. The widespread observation of Halloween in modern Western cultures is largely due to the Christianization of Samhain by the Church in the 7th century. On the 13th of May 609, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honour of all Christian martyrs, and thus the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day was established in the Western Church. During the pontificate of Gregory III, the festival was expanded to include All Saints as well as All Martyrs. All Saints' Day, as it was now known, was also referred to as All Hallows' Day, in reference to the holiness of all saints known and unknown. It was in 835 that All Hallows' Day was officially moved to the 1st of November at the behest of Pope Gregory IV. As with many other major early Christian festivals, including Easter.
Hi Munin, happy Saturday. Thank you for being here. We are doing, this video is the history of Halloween. It's already a little bit more, a little bit over half of the video, but they're still, she's still explaining extremely well, extremely thoroughly. I'm really loving this video. Basically the history of Halloween and where its roots come from. So yeah, hope you're having a great day.
And Christmas, a vigil would be held the night prior to All Hallows' Day. Thus, All Hallows' Eve, Halloween, now fell on the same day as Samhain, between...
Samhain is at the end of the month, but so yeah, happy Samhain season, I guess.
Dusk and dawn, the 31st of October to the 1st of November. Many historians agree that the Church was attempting to replace the widely popular Celtic Festival of the Dead with a similar Church-sanctioned holiday. By the 9th century, the merger can be said to have been a success, as the influence of Christianity spread into Celtic lands, blending with and supplanting older Celtic traditions. The following is an extract from a book by a Christian minister, which details how the Celtic custom of wearing costumes remained relevant to Christian belief. It was traditionally believed that the souls of the departed wandered the earth until All Saints' Day, and All Hallows' Eve provided one last chance for the dead to gain vengeance on their enemies before moving to the next world. In order to avoid being recognized by any soul that might be seeking such vengeance, people would don masks or costumes to disguise their identities. The Samhain tradition of lighting bonfires also lived on in medieval Christendom. Across medieval Europe, soul lights were lit to guide the souls of the dead as they passed on, and to deflect any vengeful amongst them from haunting the households of honest Christian folk. Similar was the offering of food to departed family members. A practice that continues to this day in Spain is the leaving of special pastries known as bones of the holy on the grave of loved ones. Moving closer to modern times, it was not until the influx of Catholic migrants in the 19th century that All Hallows Day and Halloween were celebrated nationally in America. Prior to that, rigid Protestant belief systems had limited its observance in areas such as New England. As Halloween spread across the United States, a distinctively American version of the holiday began to flourish. Once more, Halloween's Celtic roots were visible, this time in the belief amongst young women that they could divine the name or even appearance of their future husbands by doing tricks with mirrors. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween was far less religious-centric. Community gatherings and child-friendly activities were prioritized over the remembrance of saints.
Holy shit. That was... Whoa. I mean, I've seen some weird Halloween costumes living in San Francisco, but wow, those costumes back in the day. And again, it probably didn't look that bad if you were there and were seeing it face to face, but wow, these pictures are just like, I mean, I apologize, but what are we doing here? I mean, not to mention the fact that if we can unpack this picture, there's just so much wrong in it. Let's not even touch that part. Let's just talk about the fact that these are costumes. Like, maybe... Wow. How... I mean, it's not even like it's creepy, but it's like so wrong in so many ways, but then it's like, really, this is what you picked? But alright. Moving on.
Community gatherings and child-friendly activities were prioritized over the remembrance of saints. Nowadays, Halloween is one of the major holidays in America and is celebrated across the Western world. Although it looks very different from its Samhain roots, many Celtic traditions, including dressing up, the association with death, superstition, and the importance of food and feasting, still remain important aspects of modern-day Halloween. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe.
Great video. She did an awesome job. Loved it. I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like my reactions, consider becoming a Patreon member for exclusive content, and also join the Discord community for the King Angel Show. All the links in the description box below. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.